There is a silence that is unlike any other, a calm so dense that it ends up becoming a voice. It is at the heart of this silence, while the world around you continued its frantic race towards nothingness, that a radical certainty took root in your mind. It was not a fleeting thought, nor a desire born of your ego, but a frequency from elsewhere, a timeless resonance that whispered to you that your presence here on earth is not the result of chance. You have felt this awakening as a discharge of truth, the idea that you have been set apart, extracted from the anonymous mass to become the channel of a higher will. This certainty came without a drum or a trumpet, but with the quiet force of a rising tide. She swept away your superficial doubts to give way to a burning question: why me? And the answer, although silent, was inscribed in every fiber of your being. You are no longer simply a spectator of reality. You have become the protagonist of a design that surpasses you, chosen by the Most High to carry a torch where the darkness thinks it is sovereign. This awakening has changed your perception of everyday life. What seemed important to you yesterday, the worldly successes, the social validations, the noises of the city, has suddenly lost its brilliance. You began to feel alien in your own life, as if you lived in a garment that had become too narrow. It is the undeniable sign that your soul has received its mission order. This timeless certainty acts as an internal compass that now points to a north that only you can see. You understood that the previous years were just the prelude, a kind of restless sleep before the real sunrise. The call you heard is not a suggestion, it's a summons. It isolates you by its purity, but it connects you to an infinite power. You realize with a respectful fear that your life no longer completely belongs to you, because it has become the support of a divine work that awaits your yes to fully manifest itself. From now on, the noise of the world can no longer lead you astray. Even if no one around you understands what is happening in your inner world, this flame that has lit up in you is enough to illuminate your steps. You have entered a dimension of consciousness where linear time fades in front of the urgency of eternity. Every encounter, every coincidence, every breath takes on a prophetic dimension. You are realizing that your deep identity is linked to a heavenly mandate. The awakening of this certainty is the first act of your transformation. You stop looking for your place to occupy the one that was prepared for you before the foundation of the world. The mission begins here, in this silent acceptance of being the instrument of a force that has decided, at this precise moment in history, to go through you to restore hope and justice. You have long believed that your trials were mistakes of course, unjust burdens or silences on the part of the invisible. Today, with the hindsight of the one who begins to glimpse the global plan, you realize that nothing has been wasted. Every tear that you shed in the secret of your lonely nights was collected to serve as a solvent for the alchemy of your soul. The Most High did not let you suffer out of negligence, but out of the necessity of blacksmithing. To carry out a mission of this magnitude, your heart had to be broken, because it is through the cracks of a broken heart that the divine light can finally infiltrate without being blocked by human pride. Your past failures, your betrayals suffered, and your periods of desert were not punishments, but stages of purification. We do not entrust a sword of light to a hand that has never experienced the burning of iron. Your past has become your greatest reservoir of power, because the one who has lost everything can no longer be intimidated by the world. This alchemy has transformed your bitterness into an invincible compassion. Because you have known the hunger of the soul, you know how to feed those who despair. Because you have been despised, today you have the necessary authority to raise up the humble. God used every season of your ordeal to test the strength of your fiber. You had to be pressed by the circumstances so that the purest essence of your being sprang from it. You are now like a metal that has undergone the most extreme temperatures. You have become malleable in the hands of the Creator, but hard as a diamond in the face of the onslaught of adversity. The scars you bear are not marks of shame, but the invisible metals of your preparation. They are proof that you survived the fire and that you are now ready to guide others through their own flames. From now on, you look at your story with a new gratitude. You understand that if your path had been paved with roses, you would never have developed that spiritual hearing capable of perceiving the whispers of the Spirit. Your tears have irrigated an inner garden that no one can trample. This transformation is the key to your mission. You do not only bring words or theories, you bring a presence that has been distilled in suffering and victory. Your mission is legitimized by your experience. No one will be able to challenge your authority, because it does not come from a diploma or a human recognition, but from that sacred alchemy that changed your lead into gold. You are ready to walk, no longer as a victim of fate, but as a ruler whose strength has been soaked in eternity. During a recent period, you may have felt a strange need to withdraw, or maybe you felt like the world was withdrawing from you. Your invitations have become scarce, your social circles have shrunk, and an unusual loneliness has settled in your daily life. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't an abandonment, but a sheltering. The Most High has erected a sanctuary of silence around you to protect you from interference and extraneous noises that could have interfered with your listening. In this apparent emptiness, a surgical operation of the mind took place. One cannot receive the instructions of a divine mission in the hubbub of human opinions or in the incessant quest for external validation. You had to be alone with yourself and alone with Him, so that your spiritual senses become refined and that you learn to distinguish your Master's voice among the thousand echoes of the city. This silence became your school, the place where your ego had to bow down to make way for obedience. In this sanctuary, you have learned that loneliness is not an absence, but a deeper presence. This is where the veils of distraction were torn. You began to observe your own thoughts, identify your fears, and understand that most of your past desires were dictated by foreign influences. The silence acted as a merciless and benevolent mirror at the same time. It was here that God began to whisper the first details of your mission, not in complex speeches, but in intuitions that impose themselves with disarming clarity. You have discovered that rest is not an action, but a form of intense preparation. One does not launch an arrow without first having stretched out the bow in the most total immobility. This withdrawal time was the moment when the rope of your destiny was stretched to the maximum, ready to propel you towards your target with millimeter precision. Today, you come out of this sanctuary with a new strength, that of no longer needing the approval of others to know who you are. This silence has given you back your sovereignty. You have learned to love this inner peace that does not depend on any external circumstances. The world may well be agitated, screaming, or judging. It no longer reaches the center of your being, because you have tasted the stability of the eternal rock. This chapter of your life, which sometimes seemed heavy with loneliness, is actually the foundation of your future authority. You have become a being of depth. From now on, every word that you utter will carry in it the echo of this sacred silence, giving it a weight and a resonance that hollow speeches will never have. You are ready to return among men, not to mix with their din, but to bring there the peace that you found in the shadow of the Most High. As you accept your role, you begin to notice that the reality around you is no longer as rigid as it used to be. The signature of the invisible is manifested by these impossible coincidences which, repeated with mathematical precision, cease to be coincidences to become messages. These are doors that open when you haven't even knocked yet, phone calls that arrive the exact second a thought crosses your mind, or resources that arise from nothingness at the ultimate moment. These events are the initials of the Creator on the document of your life. They are there to confirm to you that your intuition has not deceived you. You are indeed on the trajectory that has been mapped out for you. You learn to read the world no longer as a succession of random facts, but as an open book where each chapter is validated by a force that watches over the perfect execution of your mandate. This signature can be recognized by its fluidity and its supernatural timing. Where others exhaust themselves by forcing fate, you discover that for you, things align with disconcerting ease as soon as you are in agreement with your mission. It is the secret language of God that reassures you. I am here. I am walking in front of you. You begin to see symbols, to hear phrases repeated by strangers who precisely answer your secret prayers, or to feel a sudden physical peace in the midst of an emotional storm. These signs are not intended to nourish your vanity, but to consolidate your faith. They are anchors thrown into the visible to keep your mind connected to the invisible. You realize that you are part of a cosmic gear whose wheels are oiled by grace, and that your only duty is to remain attentive to these signals that guide your navigation. From now on, you no longer move blindly. The signature of the invisible has become your daily compass. It gives you the courage to take risks that the world considers senseless, because you know that you are supported by heavenly logistics. You no longer need tangible evidence or human guarantees to set you in motion. The blink of an eye from the universe is enough for you. This recognition changes your relationship to worry. It disappears, replaced by a joyful curiosity. You wonder every morning how the hand of God will manifest itself today. This complicity with the divine makes your mission an exhilarating adventure where you are both the actor and the amazed spectator of a deployment of power that surpasses you. You are marked with the seal of favor, and every step you take confirms that heaven has bet on you. In order to move towards your destiny, there comes a time when you must accept to undress yourself of everything that once served you as a shield. The stripping of old armor is a crucial and often uncomfortable step of your initiation. These armors are your old habits of control, your psychological defense mechanisms, your distrust of others, and this shell of self-sufficiency that you had forged for yourself to survive the onslaught of the world. The Most High asks you today to deposit these heavy and rusty metals at His feet. Why? Because we cannot assume the strength of the Spirit if we are still trapped in the rigidity of the ego. We cannot be guided by grace if we still cling desperately to our own will. This stripping gives you the impression of being naked and exposed, but it is precisely in this apparent fragility that your true power will take root. By abandoning your old strategies, you discover that what you took for protection was really just a prison. Your armor limited your movements and prevented you from feeling the direction of the divine wind. God wants you to be flexible, malleable, and totally dependent on His providence. This process requires immense courage, that of no longer knowing, no longer foreseeing, and leaving room for the sacred unforeseen. You realize that your old ways of fighting adversity, through anger, manipulation, or withdrawal, no longer have a place in this new era. You are invited to practice a form of surrender that is not a defeat, but a victory over yourself. By letting go of your human defenses, you allow the heavenly protection to become your only bulwark, an armor of light much more impenetrable than any mental barrier. This spiritual nakedness is a sign that you have finally stopped doubting the one who called you. You no longer need to appear strong, because His strength is fulfilled in your accepted weakness. You no longer need to justify your career or prove your worth, because your divine mandate speaks for you. This stripping releases a colossal energy in you that you used to waste on maintaining your appearances. Now light, free of the dead weights of the past, you can run towards your mission with a new agility. You are like the runner who takes off his coat before the start. You are ready for the effort, purified of all artifice, and totally available for the work that awaits you. You no longer carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You let yourself be carried by the hand that created the stars. The greatest barrier on your path is not the outer darkness, but the fear of your own light. The face-to-face with your own greatness is that dizzying stage where you realize that humility does not consist in believing yourself small, but in fully accepting the immensity of the channel that you have become. The Most High did not choose you so that you would remain hidden in the shadow of doubts or apologize for existing. He has deposited in you a treasure trove of wisdom, authority, and vision that surpasses everything you have been able to accomplish so far. To look this greatness in the face is to accept that you are no longer the ordinary person you thought you were. It is to admit that your words now have the power to heal, that your decisions can affect destinies, and that your very presence disturbs chaos. This dizziness is necessary. It marks the end of your little identity to make way for your sacred identity. You must stop seeing yourself through the distorting mirror of your past failures to start seeing yourself through the gaze of the one who designed you for this victory. Accepting this greatness requires a total renunciation of false modesty, that subtle form of pride that allows you to run away from your responsibilities. God is calling you to stand with broad shoulders, ready to bear the weight of the mandate that He has sealed in you. This is not arrogance, because you know that this strength does not come from you, but it passes through you. You are like an ambassador who represents an empire. It is not his name that imposes respect, but the seal that he bears on his heart. By embracing this higher dimension, you discover that your fears vanish because they no longer find a hold on a being who knows his divine value. You realize that your refusal to shine was of no use to anyone, while your radiance becomes a permission for others to also come out of their darkness. Your greatness is a service, an offering that you make to the world to testify to the generosity of the Creator. This face-to-face radically transforms your language and your attitude. You no longer beg for your place, you occupy it. You no longer ask permission to make the change, you embody it. By ceasing to fight against the call of your own light, you enter a phase of majestic stability. You finally understand that the mission for which you have been designated requires that you be fully yourself, without filters and without restraint. This reconciliation with your own importance in the divine plan is the engine of your future action. You are no longer a grain of sand blown away by the wind, but a mountain that anchors hope. By accepting your greatness, you honor God's choice. You are ready to walk like a giant among men, not to dominate them, but to show them the way to the heights that only you had the courage to embrace. As your mandate becomes clearer, you notice a strange and sometimes painful phenomenon. A vacuum is created around you. Long-standing friendships are crumbling, collaborations are interrupted, and some of your loved ones seem to move away for no apparent reason. Don't try to hold back those who leave. This drastic sorting of fellow travelers is not the result of social bad luck, but a direct intervention of the Most High. For the mission that awaits you, you can no longer surround yourself with people who only see in you your old version. God discards those whose skepticism, jealousy, or simply limited vibration could pollute the atmosphere of your obedience. You can't transport passengers who doubt the destination when you're piloting a ship to an unknown land. This cleaning is a protection. It is a question of eliminating extraneous noise before the signal of your action becomes too powerful. This process of natural selection reveals the hearts. Some cannot bear to see the light that begins to emanate from you, because it highlights their own areas of shadow. Others try to take you back to your past to reassure themselves about their own stagnation. By separating yourself from these influences, the Creator creates a sacred space around you. He is preparing the ground for the arrival of the sentinels of your destiny, these strategic allies who, unlike fellow travelers, are equipped to understand the magnitude of your mission. You learn that solitude is preferable to a company that extinguishes your fire. This sorting asks you to have the necessary faith to let go of those you love, while knowing that their absence is the sine qua non of your ascension. We don't reach the peaks with those who are dizzy. From now on, you look at those around you with a new discernment. You no longer judge people on their sympathy, but on their ability to carry the weight of vision with you. You realize that each person remaining by your side must be a pillar and not a weight. This drastic sorting brings you absolute mental clarity. You no longer need to justify yourself or adapt to please. Those who are destined to walk with you will recognize the divine seal on your life without you having to say a word. Your loyalty now belongs in the first place to the call you have received. By accepting this secondment, you prove that you are ready to sacrifice everything for the fulfillment of your mandate. The place is now free for a team of destiny, souls forged in the same flame, ready to support you in the conquest of your heritage. There comes a time in your life when study and reflection are no longer enough. You find yourself facing situations of such complexity that no past experience can guide you. It is here that the infusion of immediate wisdom manifests itself. This phenomenon is not an accumulation of knowledge, but a direct connection to the source of all intelligence. At the precise moment when you need it, solutions that you have never learned spring into your mind with crystal clarity. You catch yourself giving speeches of incredible depth, resolving ancestral conflicts with a single sentence, or anticipating traps that no one else had seen coming. It is not your brain that is working. It is the mind that uses your vocal cords and your reflection as a precision instrument. This infused wisdom is concrete proof that the one who called you did not send you without ammunition. He endows you with a mental acuity that exceeds human faculties, because your mission requires that you always be one step ahead of the forces of confusion. This new ability radically changes your relationship to decision-making. You no longer need long nights of anxiety to know which path to take. By staying connected to your center, You receive surgically accurate instructions. The people around you are beginning to marvel at your discernment, some seeing genius in it, others pure intuition, but you know that it is a spiritual respiratory assistance. The Most High pours into you the codes necessary to unlock doors that have been closed for generations. This wisdom does not serve you to shine in debates, but to build lasting structures and to heal souls. It gives you a natural authority. When you speak, the silence is not out of fear, but because everyone feels, deep down, that what you are saying is true, useful, and necessary. The infusion of immediate wisdom frees you from the imposter syndrome. How could you doubt yourself when you see the tangible results of this guidance? You realize that you have become an oracle of good, a strategist of heaven on earth. This wisdom is also a shield against manipulation. You now perceive the intentions hidden behind the smiles and the lies hidden under the beautiful words. Your mission is accelerating because you no longer waste time in dead ends. Each flash of lucidity that you receive is an additional brick placed on the edifice of your destiny. You learn to trust this continuous flow of intelligence, knowing that the answer will always arrive the very second the question is asked. You are now walking with the certainty of those who are instructed by the invisible, carrying within you the keys of the kingdom to free those around you. There is a fundamental difference between luck and favor. Luck is random, but the shield of divine favor is a deliberate decision by the Most High to make you untouchable as long as you walk in your mandate. You start to notice that the arrows fired at you, whether they are slander, sabotage attempts, or underground plots, all seem to inexplicably miss their target. The traps that your enemies set in your way close in on themselves, and the words intended to harm you turn, by a mysterious flashback, into testimonies to your advantage. This shield is not a simple passive protection. It is an active force that rearranges circumstances so that even the opposition serves your ascension. You discover with royal peace that the one who has designated you has also subscribed to an insurance of absolute victory over all your opponents. This favor is also manifested by an aura that precedes your every step. The most hardened hearts soften in your presence, and doors that the powerful have taken decades to lock open before you with a simple glance. You do not force anything. You no longer negotiate with fear. You simply move forward, wrapped in this atmosphere of supernatural benevolence. The shield of favor acts as a magnet for opportunities and as a repeller for evil. You realize that your authority does not come from your muscles or your bank account, but from that invisible hand that pushes the mountains apart before you reach their foot. This protection gives you complete freedom of action. You can now tell the truth without trembling, because you know that the guarantor of your mission watches over every beat of your heart. Living under this shield transforms your attitude to conflict. You no longer need to justify yourself, take revenge, or respond to provocations from those who do not understand your trajectory. You let heavenly justice take care of your defense while you stay focused on your work. You are witnessing, serene spectator, the rout of those who have tried to slow down your momentum. Their impotence in front of you is proof that you no longer play in the same category as them. Divine favor is your birthright in this new life, a distinction that makes you a being apart, not by personal superiority, but by necessity of service. You now walk with the certainty that the entire universe is mandated to ensure your safety, because your survival and success have become a priority for the kingdom of heaven. There comes a stage in your evolution where your influence no longer depends on your speeches, but on what you give off. The authority of the presence is this invisible emanation that saturates the space as soon as you cross a threshold. The Most High has worked on your interior architecture in such a way that your soul now projects a frequency of sovereignty. When you enter a room, the tumult of sterile conversations subsides, not out of compulsion, but because your vibration imposes a higher order. You no longer need to prove your legitimacy or raise your voice to be heard. Your silence itself has become a striking force. This authority is the fruit of all the previous steps. It is the result of your transmuted tears, your tamed silence, and your face-to-face with the infinite. You have become a living anchor for the light, and those who cross your path feel, consciously or not, that you are the custodian of a mandate that suffers no challenge. This presence acts as a catalyst for truth. Around you, The masks fall, and the hidden intentions are revealed without you having to ask a single question. Your authority is so natural that it does not arouse rebellion, but a form of sacred respect. You have become a mirror for others. Your simple stability exposes their restlessness, and your peace emphasizes their torments, often pushing them to look within themselves for the source of your calm. You are no longer trying to convince, you are the proof. This authority of presence allows you to direct, inspire, and protect with a disconcerting economy of means. A look from you can give hope to a desperate person or stop the momentum of an oppressor. You realize that you have become a focal point of the divine will, a motionless lighthouse that guides ships without ever leaving its base. From now on, you inhabit your body and your role with a royal fullness. The authority of the presence is your daily habit of light. She gives you perfect ease in all walks of life, from the most modest to the most powerful, because you know that you do not represent your own person, but the one who sent you. This certainty gives you a verticality that nothing can bend. You are no longer in search of power, you are power in action. Your mission is now accomplished by simple radiation. By being totally present to yourself and to God, you modify the atmosphere wherever you go, preparing the ground for miracles and profound transformations. You are the calm in the storm, the quiet authority who reminds every moment that the heavenly order has regained its rights on earth through you. After the preparation, the silence, and the anointing, comes the inevitable moment of taking action. The first act of the new era is not a simple task on a list. It is the inaugural gesture that formalizes your mandate in the eyes of the world and the invisible powers. This act has a disruptive force. It marks the definitive end of your former life as a spectator and the beginning of your reign as a builder. It can be a radical decision, the launch of a project that you have been carrying for years, or an outstretched hand that radically changes the course of a desperate situation. What distinguishes this act from anything you have done before is its accuracy and authority. You're not fumbling anymore. You act with the certainty of one who knows that his hands are guided by a higher intelligence. This gesture does not seek applause, it seeks alignment. This is a warning shot in the chaos camp, a tangible proof that the light now has an operational representative on the ground. By doing this act, you trigger a chain reaction in physical reality. The obstacles that seemed insurmountable collapse like houses of cards at the first touch of your determination. The Most High uses this first gesture to test your courage and to demonstrate his fidelity. You discover that the universe was waiting for this signal from you to pour out the necessary resources. It is not the immediate success that counts here, but the obedience to the movement. By taking action, you break the inertia of those around you and create a vortex of hope. This first act sets the tone for everything that will follow. It is imbued with the nobility, rigor, and compassion that characterize your mission. You realize that you no longer need to ask permission to exist or to help. Your mandate is your own pass. From now on, you have entered the perpetual movement of grace. This first act dispelled the last traces of doubt that could still remain in a corner of your mind. You have seen with your own eyes that when you move forward, the sea splits. This experience becomes the foundation of your future boldness. You understand that your mission is not a distant destination, but a succession of inspired acts that transform the present. The new era that you embody begins with your ability to transform divine thought into tangible matter. You are no longer a dreamer, you are a director of heaven. This first step sealed your commitment. There is no going back possible. You are now walking with the joy of one who finally sees his life's work take shape, carried by a force that transforms every effort into a triumph for humanity. Any ascent to a sacred mission ends up encountering resistance. The confrontation with the guardians of the old order is that necessary test where your authority is challenged by those who have everything to lose with your advent. These guardians are not necessarily declared enemies. Sometimes they are institutions, sclerotic traditions, or individuals who fear change because it exposes their own inertia. They will try to bring you back to the norm, remind you of your past mistakes, or use doubt to weaken your momentum. But what they don't know is that you're not the same man anymore. The Most High allows this confrontation not to bring you down, but so that you can publicly demonstrate that your strength does not rest on any human support. Faced with their logical but lifeless arguments, you oppose a truth that burns. Faced with their rigid structures, you oppose the fluidity of the mind. This stage is where you learn the art of immutability. You do not respond to provocation with aggression, because anger is the weapon of the one who is afraid. On the contrary, you remain standing, calm and unshakable, like a rock against which the waves of the old mentality come to break. The guardians of the old order will try to close the doors, but they will discover that you are passing through the walls. Their opposition becomes, in spite of themselves, the pedestal of your glory. The more they persist in wanting to extinguish you, the more they draw attention to the unbearable brilliance of your mission. You realize that their resistance is the very proof of your effectiveness. If you didn't bother anyone, it's because you wouldn't be wearing anything new. By standing firm in the face of these headwinds, you earn your stripes as a builder of the future. Now you have understood that you do not need their approval to accomplish what you were sent to do. The confrontation ends with your silent victory. The old world must bow to the power of the life that you carry. You come out of this face-to-face with a reinforced legitimacy. You are no longer afraid of established structures, because you have seen their fragility in the face of divine anointing. This victory frees you from the last form of human fear, that of displeasing the authorities of this world. You are now walking with the sovereign freedom of one who is accountable only to the Creator. The old order is fading behind you, as you pave the way for a humanity that has been desperately waiting for a leader who can break the old glass ceilings. There is an immutable law in the economy of the Most High. Whoever accepts the burden of the mission also receives the keys to the treasury. The unlocking of the infinite resources is the moment when the celestial logistics materialize to support your obedience. So far, you may have had to move forward with little, proving that your motivation does not depend on your comfort. But today, because you have demonstrated that you are an honest manager of the light, the floodgates of abundance are opening. It is not only financial funds that flow to you, but much more valuable resources, strategic contacts, unexpected technologies, fields of action, and opportunities that once seemed inaccessible. God arouses donors, investors, and protectors who, sometimes without knowing why, feel impelled to put their means at the service of your vision. You no longer have to beg or exhaust yourself in human calculations. The resources are chasing the mission because they recognize in you the custodian of a project that must imperatively succeed. This unlocking is done with a fluidity that defies all accounting logic. Where others see crises or shortages, you see wealth transfers taking place in your favor. You learn to manage this abundance with the same wisdom that you learned in the desert. These resources are not an end in themselves, but the fuel necessary for your impact to be global. The Most High entrusts these riches to you because He knows that you will not use them for your own ego, but to build structures that will free the oppressed and feed the hungry. You discover that money and power, when placed in the hands of an aligned being, lose their corrupting character to become instruments of restoration. The fear of lack disappears completely from your mind, replaced by the certainty that your reservoir is directly connected to the inexhaustible source of the Creator. Now you can think big, really big. The scale of your projects is no longer limited by your bank account, but by the scope of your faith. You realize that you have become a steward of the kingdom on earth. Each resource that arrives is an additional confirmation of your legitimacy. You no longer hesitate to launch colossal projects, because you know that the provision is already planned even before the need arises. This material ease gives you total freedom of movement. You are no longer the slave of necessities. You are the master of possibilities. Seeing these resources multiply in your hands, you understand that God wants to make you a living proof of His generosity. Your mission now has an unstoppable firepower, ready to transform the landscape of the world and to engrave your influence in stone and in time. The mission entrusted to you has a mysterious property. It is magnetic. As you move forward with this unshakable determination, you become, without even realizing it, a transformation engine for others. The contagion of hope is that phenomenon where your simple perseverance acts as an antidote to the ambient despair. The people around you, accustomed to darkness and inevitability, are beginning to see in your actions proof that another reality is possible. You don't need to make big speeches to convince. Your very existence has become an irrefutable argument in favor of the light. Seeing you break your own chains, those who observe you feel theirs soften. You have become a carrier of a sacred virus, a source of inspiration that restores color to those whose souls had faded under the weight of trials. This contagion does not stop at your immediate circle. Your energy is diffused by shock waves. By remaining faithful to your mandate, you are unconsciously allowing thousands of other souls to come out of hiding. God uses your example to awaken the dormant missions in others. You realize that your obedience was not only for you, but for all those who were waiting for a signal to start walking. Your strength becomes their strength, your peace becomes their refuge, and your courage becomes their battle cry. You see faces lighting up in your path, initiatives being reborn, and buried dreams resurfacing. The mission then takes on a collective dimension. You no longer walk alone. You are at the head of an invisible army of restored souls who have regained their dignity by watching yours flourish. From now on, you understand that the greatest success of your mandate is not what you build, but what you arouse. You have become a channel through which the Most High pours out a new fervor on the earth. This contagion of hope is a sign that victory is near, because evil cannot subsist where the certainty of good has settled in the hearts. You look with emotion at the fruits of your initial yes, lives saved from nothingness, rebuilt families and vocations that light up wherever your shadow arises. You are no longer just a man on a mission. You have become a hotbed of light whose warmth warms a humanity that had shivered in indifference for too long. The contagion is total, and nothing will be able to stop the bonfire that you have lit. The journey has been long, the trials have been real, but the destination has finally been reached. The rest of the warrior of light is not an end, but the culmination of a perfect alignment between your will and that of eternity. In this final chapter, you contemplate the landscape of your life, and you see in it a harmony that you could only imagine at the beginning of your call. You are no longer in the struggle, you are in the possession of your peace. This sovereign tranquility comes from the certainty that you have emptied your bottle, that you have given every drop of your energy to accomplish what you were sent to do. The Most High henceforth lays his silence on your shoulders like a scarf of gratitude. You realize that the greatest miracle was not the resources unlocked or the enemies discarded, but the man you became in the process, an unshakable being, purified of its shadows, and totally transparent to the divine light. This rest is a dimension of consciousness where time no longer weighs. You look at the structures that you have built and the hearts that you have revived with the serenity of the sculptor in front of his masterpiece. You understood that your mission was actually an invitation to co-create with the invisible, and that every step of pain was rewarded with an ounce of eternal wisdom. You no longer feel the need to prove, defend, or conquer. Your authority is so firmly established that it remains by itself, even in your immobility. You taste this mystical satisfaction of knowing that if you were to leave this plane today, your passage would have left an indelible imprint of justice and beauty. You have entered the rest of God, that state of grace where we stop working out of effort to start working out of simple radiance. From now on, you walk with the lightness of those who have accomplished everything. Your legacy is sealed. You have become a spiritual ancestor, a landmark for future generations who will, in turn, seek the trace of the invisible in the chaos of the world. This rest is not inertia. It is the highest vibration of life, that of absolute peace. You have honored the choice that God has made for you, and in return, he offers you the crown of serenity. You can finally close your eyes to the past and open them to an eternity where your presence continues to shine. Your mission has been accomplished. Your name is written in the book of those who dared to say yes, and your entire life has become a hymn to the glory of the one who called you, formed you, and crowned you.